All right, hey everybody, Rob here again. This will most likely be my last video, so it's kind of dealing with some end of semester things. I'll call it the sunset video, hence the picture. Um, so let's see, a couple people had asked me some questions about things like the land ethic and just how all these philosophical viewpoints that we talked about fit together. So I want to talk a little bit about that first, and then kind of some just end of the class things. So, really, if I had to say there's an overarching theme of the course, it's kind of this dichotomy between an anthropocentric viewpoint, which you kind of see on the right, and a more biocentric or ecocentric viewpoint, which you see on the left. So really, to me, all these things on the left are very similar. The land ethic is described by Leopold, deep ecology, which we read just a week or two ago, the A part of the AB cleavage that Leopold talks about. We talked about that dichotomy between whether you view humans as stewards of the earth or members of the biotic community. So I think the second part of that, the view that humans are just members of a biotic community with no more rights than other members, that's really consistent with the left side here, the biocentric or ecocentric view. And maybe preservation fits over there, although I think that's less clear. I mean, that you could make an anthropocentric, human-centered case for preservation as well. But basically, I think all those things on the left side of the slide really fit together and in a lot of ways see the world in a very similar way. As lots of you mentioned on one of the last assignments, the land ethic and the deep ecology, I think, are really fundamentally the same in how they look at Earth. I think the big difference is that the deep ecologists go a little bit more radical and they advocate some more radical tactics like sabotage and monkey wrenching and things like that. But fundamentally, it just comes down to they see the world in sort of an ecocentric or biocentric view, that we're all here together. We all have kind of equal rights, and humans are not better or superior than anyone else. As far as how you apply something like the land ethic or any of these to specific issues, that's a little tricky. That is difficult. A student actually sent me the link that you see there, aldoleopold.org, and I've posted that under bookmarks if you care to read that. It's a really good article for understanding the land ethic. I might use that in the future, so thanks to the student who sent that along. But, ultimately, the land ethic is probably my favorite of these, but I think they all kind of do the same thing. But the land ethic really talks about ecology in a way before we really had a field called ecology. It talks about the interdependencies of the environment and how something that you do over here affects other things over there. So a lot of this interconnectedness, interdependencies, that's a big part of it. It also talks very importantly about the things that we don't know. People will often say, well, science can't prove this, therefore we can go and do what we want. But, I think Leopold takes a more cautious approach and says, yes, there are cases where we really don't know the effects of this. We don't know what's going on here. But I think what he suggests is another term that we haven't really used in here, but there's an idea out there called the precautionary principle, which basically says in cases where we really don't know the effects of something or don't know the importance of something, we should be careful and preserve that resources and protect it so that someday we might find out what it's useful for and then be able to make more use of it. So, I talk about this more in other classes that I teach, but, our basic system, I think, gives humans property rights, and the assumption is you can do whatever you want unless science can prove that it's dangerous. And that leads us to overuse things and then look back and go, oh, whoops, we shouldn't have done that. So the precautionary principle flips that around and says the basic assumption is you can't do anything until you prove it is safe. So it's a really different way of looking at things, but I think that's sort of implied in a lot of Leopold's writings too, is that we should preserve wilderness, preserve resources, even if we don't know what they're good for, because someday we might. Although I guess ultimately he argues for something more than using resources just for human benefit. That's part of the point too. But anyway, I think that's in there. On the anthropocentric side of things, the B part of that B cleavage, which looks at resources as commodity producers, things to benefit mankind. views humans as stewards of the earth, caretakers, and the implication there is that we are sort of superior and that we are the superior beings on the planet, and we have some responsibility and some role in managing Earth's resources. And I think this is a bit more consistent with the conservation viewpoint. So hopefully that helps a little bit clear those things up. Otherwise, your final case study is due Wednesday, December 11th. I have sent out an email and posted some guidelines, but here's a quick overview. You have really three options. I would assume most people are going to take that first option where you pick a specific issue and write about it very much in the same way that we did the pictures worth 1,000 words assignments. So I think that's probably going to be the most common thing, but there are a couple other options if you want to pursue those. If you do that first option, I guess my first tip is look at this rubric. The table that you see on the right is included in the assignment that I gave out. Anytime I give you written work, I give you a rubric like this. This is the thing that says, how will this be graded? So, look through this, make sure you're hitting those key points, and you probably are going to do fine. Like some of the other assignments in this class, I think this is somewhat vague, and I in a way, I don't like that. Most of my classes, I try to stay away from these vague assignments. But the nature of this subject, I think, is that it kind of has to be. I like to leave it a little bit open for you to explore. But basically, as long as you're talking about those values in conflict, like the Watermans discuss, who are the stakeholders, who are the people that care about this, what are their differing views, you're showing evidence of having read the books, thought about the major themes of the course, kind of that A-B cleavage, the preservation, conservation, or anthropocentric versus biocentric, ecocentric views, all those kinds of things. If you're incorporating that stuff in, citing passages and things from the reading to support your work, that's going to help you a lot. You've already been doing that stuff, so you hopefully you're starting to figure this out. Basically, what's new on this one is you're probably going to need to do some outside research. So that's about the only new thing on the final case study, I think. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to let me know. Send me an email or text or something like that. I'm happy to give you some guidance. And otherwise, as far as finishing up the class, I'm a little late on making this video. I meant to do it earlier. It's what is it? Thursday the 5th right now. So most of you will see this very near the end of the semester. But let me just remind you, everybody has started the semester with 2 missed due date coupons. So several of you have missed a couple of assignments along the way. You have some zeros in the grade book for some big things. You have missed due date coupons. They're technically supposed to expire on the 6th, but I will extend that through Wednesday the 11th because I'm not giving you a lot of time here. But if you have 1 or 2 assignments you want to make up, use the coupon, get those points back. You can definitely improve your grade. For those of you that don't use the coupons, each unused coupon is worth a point on your final average. So I'll do that. I'll be keeping track automatically. I will add 1 or 2 points onto your final average if you have coupons left. Also, a reminder that any assignment in this class could be redone. So if you've got a bad grade somewhere and you just want to go back and do a redo, you can do that as well through December 11th. If you have questions about how to do that, let me know. And if you have any other questions about your final case study or your grade or anything like that in the class, please let me know. I hate for students to be surprised by their grade at the end. So if you thought you were going to get an A and you get a B, send me an email and just ask why that happened. I'm happy to explain that to you. So I think that's about it. Last, let me say genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you for a great class. I have really, really, truly enjoyed developing and teaching this class. I've been, as you could tell probably, I've been kind of developing it as we go. And there's some things I'll do differently and hopefully better next time, but I hope it's been worthwhile and interesting to you guys. But I have really enjoyed both developing the material and reading what you guys had to say and watching your videos and interacting with all you, even though it's an online class. So thank you very much for a great class, and let me know if you have any questions. All right. See ya.